This is Amy Godwin of ISKME, and Mark Milliron of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is joining me today to talk about the loss of momentum framework and the work that the Gates Foundation and others are doing around college completion. Mark, welcome.
Amy, thank you for joining the conversation on this important topic.
Tell us a little bit about your work, starting with the Gates Foundation, your background in this area, your interest in this area, and then how the loss of momentum framework has come about.
Yeah, the post-secondary team is laser focused on the goal of doubling the numbers of low-income young adults that receive some kind of credential of labor market value by the time they're 26 years old. And we've got we have deep passion and commitment to that goal because we think it's a game changer. We think the students that receive those credentials go on to have greater pathways to possibilities. So we've brought a lot of work, done a lot of research, worked with a lot of partners, worked with a number of institutions around the country around this goal. And the momentum and loss graphic that we'll be talking about today, the system we've kind of put together, is just a way of thinking and talking about the journey our students are going on, the journeys they're going on from literally from first contact to the time they cross the finish line.
Where is the first contact? Is it really about the mindset that a student brings, or their family life, something that brings them through the K-12 system?
So, a way to think about it, if we just go right to the graphic, I mean, we walk through 4 major stages, from connection to entry to progress and completion. And we've got kind of beginning points and end points at every one of those stages. And what we did is we framed a number of loss points where students are actually, we're losing them out of this journey based on research and practice. And then a number of momentum strategies that really seem to be proving out and to be promising in helping students be more successful on these journeys and actually get momentum towards their goal. So if you kind of begin in the beginning with the notion of connection, it's the whole idea of helping them engage the idea of going to college, of owning that as a possibility and thinking that they can see themselves on that journey. The challenge is where we lose them is many of them, even if they play with the idea, they don't apply to post-secondary. They delay entry, which we know causes some major challenges for them, or they don't come from a background where they're really given, they're provided strong college knowledge skills about how to apply, what the financial aid opportunities are, and how they should match their skills. Even if they're really high ability students, sometimes they just don't know the opportunities that are available to them, and they make some bad choices. And so that's kind of where we lose a lot of students in that first contact stage.
And what happens next on the journey?
Well, I think, for us, we want to focus next on what are the things we can do well when in the connection stage. And I think the first thing is helping them get the strong skill sets and the college, get those college skills in the core academic disciplines, which is why we care a lot about the College Ready standards. Our partners at the Gates Foundation in the College Ready program are really focused on their goal of helping students graduate from college, graduate from high school ready for college. And so the more of these students that can actually experience a high quality curriculum in their high schools, the better prepared they're going to be. Really focus on the notion of college going norms and getting them connected to a person that can raise their sights. What we know from research is it's credible influencers. It's people in their lives that care about them, that point them on their way to the journey. I mean, we can produce the best literature in the world, but the truth is it's usually a person that makes a difference. I mean, it's also making sure they understand what's available to them in financial aid. It's really painful that a good percentage of students that are Pell eligible never apply for Pell grants. They don't know that they actually have that as a tool in their toolkit for them going on. So the other momentum strategies that we think work well are getting them, kind of helping them fill out the FAFSA, giving them good information about financial aid. And then if they're really high ability students in particular, getting them dual enrollment options, helping them get early college experiences, perhaps even go to early college high schools where they can earn associate's degrees and before they even get their high school diploma. Those are the kinds of things that we see as promising. And even simple things like what El Paso Community College does, which is getting the students in touch with the college placement exam while they're in 10th grade so they understand the expectations, Those are the kinds of things where once they understand this is what's going to be expected of you, they can recalibrate and make themselves much more, get themselves connected in a much more powerful way.
So it's certainly a combination of empowerment of youth to make their own decisions, to get access to the right information, and also to be supported by these credible influencers.
I really think so. And if you notice in the bottom of the graphic, we have three meta systems that really go across all of these stages, and they include really good data about who these students are, so we understand the people we're trying to influence, student engagement, connecting with them early and often across the entire journey, and leadership. By the way, leadership at all levels: administrative leadership, faculty leadership, student service leadership, that really kind of takes this seriously and wants to help these students and really connect with the college experience. Now, we define connection as from the time they get a glimmer of interest in going to college to the time that they've actually applied. From that, once they've applied, they move into that next stage, which is entry.
So tell us a little bit about entry. I know there's many factors, and there's a lot of students that might also arrive at the entry point and be candidates for developmental ed, and that's a big factor as well.
I got to tell you that in many ways, the entry stage is the Bermuda Triangle of higher education. We lose just a huge percentage of students at this stage, which is why the Gates Foundation has focused a lot of effort on the entry stage. What we find is that more than 60% of incoming students test into developmental remedial education. They're poor academic preparation. And the challenge is, if you look at the traditional course model of providing developmental education, testing them into, they get tested into 3 levels of developmental math. Just a small percentage ever emerge on the other side successful. Sometimes as low as 10% ever get out of developmental education. And the challenge for us is realizing that is a failed model, and we've got to innovate around that and figure out what we can do better. And then we define entry as from the time they apply to the time that they pass a gatekeeper course. So once they apply, the admissions process, the counseling, the advising, the placement into any kind of remedial or academic catch-up work they have to do, to the point that they actually can pass a college-level course, then we know they're in. Once they've passed that gatekeeper course, we know that they're actually on their road to progress. But the challenge is that entry phase is really a problem. The fact that they're put into developmental education sequences they can't succeed in, our programming very often in many colleges just doesn't help them succeed, not accelerated enough. And so it's definitely one of those areas we like to innovate around. And we're really excited by the suite of grantees that we have coming for this conversation in the coming week, because these are folks who are really taking on this issue and put it square in their sights and have really innovated around it.
Well, I'm seeing that there's at least 10% that emerge. It's a small number, but there is then some success in this area, and some of the grantees that will be attending are some of the creators of these programs.
Yeah, and some of the grantees that have been just fantastic. I've seen significantly higher success rates for these students, and they're doing really, really smart things. They're trying to get more diagnostic with their assessments so they can find out the challenge areas these students really have in what kind of remedial needs they need. They're trying to do aggressive academic catch-up in innovative ways. You've got, folks like Cabrillo with the Academy for College Excellence, which is all about trying to give them early experiences as they graduate from high school through the summer program, so that they hit the ground running in their beginning courses and have supplemental instruction that weaves around them so they can be successful faster and not have to be in these long stage developmental sequences. The whole idea of being able to provide accelerated models of academic catch-up, like what El Paso Community College is doing with their My Math Lab program. And a number of our grantees have tried to use innovative computer-based instruction to let people kind of go at their own pace so they can test their way out on a competency basis as opposed to on a course-based model. They could actually just, once they've achieved the competency, they move on and they can accelerate their way through developmental ed. We are encouraged by the results of models that are focused on preventing developmental ed before they ever get here by getting them early assessment, by accelerating their developmental ed instruction, by using supplemental instruction, by mainstreaming them right away and wrapping support around them, concurrent enrollment in learning communities, competency-based digital prep. All these are things we think help in the entry process, along with, by the way, aggressive financial aid support so that they know they can be supported, they can balance their work life and their school life. And we really help them kind of experience gatekeeper courses like the folks at NCAT are doing with their grantees in terms of redesigning those gatekeeper courses so that more students can be successful in them. If we can get entry right, we can make a massive difference in the student success rates for those who are coming through community colleges.
I hear that. Now, in the progress area, it seems like there's, in addition to the acceleration around innovative course material, there's also the work life and part-time versus full-time that might be a factor here.
And this is just reality therapy. More than 75–80% of our students have to work while they go to school. They're balancing very complex lives, taking care of kids, taking care of parents, taking care of extended relatives. The cars break down, they get fired, jobs are repurposed. And when life happens like that, they have real challenges on the road to success. And for us, what we're excited about is we kind of define this stage as from the point that they've gotten through their gatekeeper course to the point they're about 75% of the way through. And what we're excited about are the folks that are doing these innovative programs to incent what we would call optimal enrollment. In other words, more intense enrollment, continually enrolled, and encouraging them to go full time. We really like what Connecticut has done in terms of making students have to apply to be able to go part time. The default is full time to make it more likely that they're intensely enrolled in a broad way. It doesn't mean everybody has to graduate in 2 years, but it means instead of taking 4 to 5 years, they might take 3, which is probably a better outcome for a number of students. Leveraging technology to give them real-time feedback and tell them when they're having challenges. So the whole idea of early warning systems and really helping them get learning support on demand. And then really kind of focusing on unique models like what Western Governors does with competency-based learning, really allowing students to go at their own pace and really make fast progress through these kind of stages. WGU sees rates of students finishing in half the time by making more competency-based. And then, providing resources so when life happens, you can actually help them. So things like emergency loans and other kinds of financial supports for those students. If we can do these things, we can help these students make this progress and move towards the finish line, which is where completion comes in.
So around completion, there is a lot of work being done at the state level and around transfer of credits and the labor market value that a student leaves with. Do you want to talk about some of those factors? Yeah,
I think the big thing is we really want to focus students on credentials that count, that will give them opportunities that are many times stackable, because what we find is that when students achieve credentials that don't have labor market value, it ends up being a dead end as opposed to a ladder. They sometimes leave without just a few courses that would have given them a credential. They transfer before they receive the AA, and they think, well, I intend to get a bachelor's anyway, but they don't realize that sometimes there's some data that says that they just lowered their likelihood of graduating with a bachelor's degree by about 30% by transferring before they have their credential. So colleges like Valencia Community College make them have to apply to actually transfer before they apply to get out of transferring without their credential. They really incent them to finish the AA first before they transfer on, because that really is the pathway to possibility for these students. And then using, mandatory intrusive advising, getting these students across the finish line, making sure that they, in some ways, the really kind of gold standard is that these learn and earn programs where they get significant work experience while they're learning, so that by the time they graduate, they've got experience under their belt where they can walk right into the job market and be successful. And that's really the goal. The goal is for them to get across the credential finish line and be able to transfer to their next learning experience successfully with the credential of labor market value, to be able to go right into a job and be massively successful. And if we do it right, and by the way, Amy, we talked about, this whole process of supporting the students has to be informed by student data systems. And what we are really encouraged by is the realization in a number of our grantees how important data are in this process. Really solid, good data that tells you where the students are, the challenges they're having, and targeting the right kinds of support to them, and really analyzing where are the loss points and what are the strategies that are achieving momentum. That, along with a whole suite of engagement strategies from first contact to crossing the finish line, and really bringing leadership to bear at all levels so that this entire journey is intentionally put together. Because the truth is, we have a system. Students are going through some kind of a system. The question is whether or not it's intentionally designed from end to end for them to be successful.
Well, knowing who students are and where they are in the system is a very important piece of this. And analogously with the grantees, being able to share that kind of knowledge and have them weigh in on this new system would be an important piece in the movement.
Yeah, and I think that's the work of the last couple of years, has been working with them on analyzing loss and really learning together about the momentum strategies that help students be successful. In the end, this is not about our charts and graphs and our data points. In the end, this is about students who are searching for better lives. And if we can put the right kind of systems in place to help them from connection, through entry, through progress, and through completion, and get on the way to their next adventure successfully, we've done our work well. And it's learning about those stories and connecting with them in a personal way that makes this work worthwhile.
Well, thank you, Mark, for explaining this and giving us a lot of insight into the system and inspiration into continuing the work and bringing more grantees and others together around it.
We are completely committed to this agenda, and we are excited to continue the conversation with our grantees about helping put our students on the pathway to possibilities. It's going to be a good set of conversations, Amy.
Great. Thank you so much.